Good evening. For those that I may not have had the honor to meet yet, I'm Rabbi Chernick, one of the spiritual leaders here at Beth Tzedec. It's a pleasure to have you here this evening, those that are joining us in person, those that are joining us online, for really what promises to be a moving and meaningful evening of music in commemoration of the Shoah, of the Holocaust. This evening is made possible by a gift of the Singer family in honor of their parents, David and Sylvia Singer. Sylvia and David are both survivors of the Holocaust. Sylvia and her family escaped into the forests where they, through tenacity and probably a lot of luck, survived 2 years in the forest over terrible conditions. David and his family made it to the Russian Poland area of the world, and then when the Nazis invaded, they were shipped to Siberia and managed to survive the war in Siberia. They ended up in Canada, married, had 5 children, numerous grandchildren, and really focused on raising a family together and rebuilding their lives in meaning and purpose. And the memory of the Holocaust was something that was very important to them, as was their engagement in Beth Tzedec. The Singers were responsible for the Yellow Candle program, for example, which is now a program that takes place worldwide prior to the Holocaust, in which men's clubs and synagogues around the world deliver yellow candles to the members of their community to be lit on Yom HaShoah. David literally made the Holocaust menorah that we use in Beth Tzedec on Yom HaShoah, on Holocaust Commemoration Day. And last year or the year before, the Singer family rededicated that menorah. It now bears a plaque as well as a brief history of David and Sylvia. And we encourage you to view that when the concert is done and during the reception. You can find it along the wall under the giant, beautiful Magen David that is in the lobby. As a congregation, we also want to extend our condolences to Ivan Carlin, Sharon Singer's partner, who lost his mother, Marta, recently. They are not able to be with us for obvious reasons as they're sitting Shiva. Marta, too, was a survivor of the Holocaust, and we express our condolences to them. Hamakom yinechem etchem b'tok sha'ar avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. It's really thanks to the Singer family generosity that we're able to sponsor this evening. We hope that you will enjoy it thoroughly. Thank you.
Dobrý večer. Good evening. That was in Czech. Welcome. I will tell you a story based on poems and told through songs. It is a story that spans about 5 decades, starting in 1901, and it takes place in the former Czechoslovakia. It is a story of my mother's mother, my grandmother, Hannah. She never spoke too much about herself, and so I didn't know a lot about her. All I knew was that I really loved her and loved spending time with her. They thought she was a sickly child. Her parents, my great-grandmother Františka and her husband, second husband, Jan, the town judge, they treated her like a precious flower. But they also got her very well educated, so she spoke fluent French, German, English, was very well versed in literature and the arts, and was really an excellent athlete. She was an excellent tennis player, long distance swimmer, skier, even rode a bicycle. And yet everyone thought that she was so fragile. They just wanted to take care of her and protect her. But what I've realized over the years was that my grandmother, Hannah, was in fact a very strong, independent, and sensuous woman, and that she really loved poetry. There is nothing more beautiful than dreaming, when reality tiptoes discreetly away and there's just the And there's nothing sweeter than forgetting foolishness with eyes wide open and hands upon the treasures of non-existent kingdoms. The greatest paganism, boasting thousands of gods, each dream reveling on its own. And there is nothing greater than getting sober, when all the permutations of dreams just burn out, fade away, and life says, I win. I win. I remember my grandmother Hannah, or Babinka as I called her, as a very cheerful, endearing person with a deep, hearty laugh that made her cough, because she was actually a 2-pack a day chain smoker. During my summer holidays, I would go and spend 2 or 3 weeks with her in Hradec Králové. Now that's in eastern Bohemia. And we would do all these fun things together. She's the one who taught me how to swim in a very fast-moving river in Malšovice, how to ski when I was just 3 or 4 years old, and how to play tennis. We would play cards. We went to the movies. And sometimes we would just laugh so much that we had to stop in the middle of the street, or else we would pee our pants. Hannah was a confident woman, charming and beautiful at all ages. Still in her late 70s, there were men visiting her, bringing her chocolates and flowers. And I could tell that they had a lot of caring for her. And eventually my mother implied that Babinka had lovers.
a ústa se říkat nestydí, krásné a posvátné věci. Můj ráj je samoty, můj ráj je samoty, můj. Duše se baví s duší nejbližší a to je vždycky ta jeho a kromě Boha už nikdo neslyší rozmluvy samotného. Samoty můj ráj je samoty můj.
Seven years ago, when my mother, Renee, passed away, in her desk in Prague, in her apartment where she lived, I found two slim booklets. She labeled them Poems of My Mother, Anna Hanna Frizova, 1940 to 1945. What I found inside were poems written in my grandmother's very careful, meticulous handwriting that I knew very well because she wrote a lot of letters to me. Those were poems that she wrote in World War II. Some of them she wrote herself. I discovered that some she just loved, adapted, personalized. They brought her solace. They were the companions that went with her through difficult times. The songs you will hear tonight are based on these poems. And now, welcome to the world of my grandmother, Anna Hanna Frizova. Hannah was unconventional for her time, the 1920s. She wore pants. She drove a convertible car, the only woman driver in her town. Also, the only woman on her town's competitive tennis squad. She wore fabulous costumes and went to balls. And then she traveled to spas with a girlfriend, Marie. She had a beautiful life. But before all that, as a young child, she was in class with a certain boy. His name was Jan Šverma, which is a name that Czech people would recognize. It's a very famous name. Well, they grew up together. Her dad was the town judge. His dad was a lawyer and a town mayor. And they would have a same circle of social friends, socialize together. And as they were growing into their teen years, it became clear that Shverma was in fact a very exceptional young man. He was an early communist. He was a journalist, writer, and a poet. They were so close. And in fact, he was her first love and also her first lover.
And then miracles could still happen, and everything that you cared for into the oddity of twilight. One word was exhaled 1,000 times. Your love embodied in my heart. You know how I said I want to all your desires, while the heart was beating with a mysterious promise. And there never have been more magical moments and evenings of intimacy more brilliant, and nights of dreams more beautiful, and a heart has never dreamt so exquisitely. Oh, as in our togetherness. Oh, as in our togetherness. Togetherness. Togetherness.
Well, that first love didn't go so well because Shverma moved to Prague because his family didn't want them to be together. He went to university and met another girl there, and she got pregnant. And at the age of 19, he married her. And Hannah was sadly heartbroken. After Shverma got married, Hannah was courted and admired by many. One day, on an outing in Prague, she went with her girlfriend Marie and met a nice-looking man, light hair, blue eyes. And she told her girlfriend, "I will marry this man." This man was Richard, eventually my grandfather, one that I have never met. Richard was a self-made man from a large Jewish family from the northern borders of the former Czechoslovakia. His family experienced a lot of pogroms and persecutions, and so he was determined not to have his family suffer, if possible, to avoid it. And so he went for a complete assimilation and baptized their only child, my mother, Renee, which was in fact not uncommon. That was a way how people thought that they could protect themselves by assimilation and baptizing. I don't know, maybe some of you have such stories in your background as well. Hannah and Richard had 15 very good years together. And then everything changed for them and for everyone else. September 15, 1939, Yosefov, a letter from Hannah. Dear Marie, the dark clouds are gathering. Since German soldiers marched into our land this spring, everything has been changing for us bit by bit. The new laws instantly made us all second-class citizens, stripped of all freedoms. Richard had to hand over his factory to the authorities, and we are now confined to just 2 rooms in our own house, as the rest of it is filled with 3 other Jewish families, refugees. It's so crowded. We are like sardines here. Write me back soon. Your friend, Hannah. My paradise of solitude, my time away from people, when a soul can enjoy its nakedness. You are now my home, my castle. Richard was arrested by the Gestapo. A colleague told him that he didn't give away everything with the transfer of his business to the Nazi authorities. And even though the Gestapo didn't find anything, he still went and spent 6 months in prison. He came back a changed man, dispirited, and needed help. Hannah was trying to help him, but he wouldn't listen, and they were arguing all the time. My mother describes in her book how they could hear them through the walls of their crowded house. New prohibitions kept coming every day. Every day something new happened that was posted on a wall somewhere. Jews cannot go shopping until 5 p.m. They cannot go for a walk until 9 p.m. And then the waiting began. They were waiting for a transport, the little slip to come and tell them that they have to leave their home. And every day they were packing and repacking their suitcases, the allowance of 50 kilograms, because every day something else seemed to be more important to take along. I created this next composition to bring my mother and my grandmother and myself together in one place. You will hear my grandmother's poem. You will hear my mother's voice. She is reading an entry in her diary that was written in December 1942, when she was 14, and it describes the moment when her family was standing for the last time in front of their door to the family home, turning the key in the lock to hand over the key to the Nazi authorities just a little bit later. The reading that you will hear from her, and you will hear our voices cracking. This is from a Czech TV documentary that I was lucky enough to be able to get access to.
Jedeme za 14 dní do transportu. Doufám a věřím, že se vrátíme.
In 2 weeks, we will be boarding a train. I hope and I believe that we will be back. I have my own grief, but maybe I can carry your sorrow too. Should I fall with all that weight, I'll fall down silently. I'll fall. I'll fall. I'll fall silently.
Opravdu nejsmutnější chodba mého života.
I'll be falling. I'll be falling. I'll be falling silently.
Kde jsme naposledy 17. prosince 1942 zamkli dveře s povinností ty klíče dovést do Hradce Králové, kde nás soustředovali jako všechny Židy z toho hradeckého okresu nebo část. To byly tisíc lidí vždycky v každém transportu a tam se muselo na stole odevzdat všechno, včetně klíčů.
Mám vlastní trud, však i tvůj žas snad ještě unesu. A po tobě ma padnuli, já padnu bez hlasu. A já padnu, a já padnu, a já padnu. Now, looking back at the lives of my family, it's astounding to me how much was lost because of betrayal by colleagues, by envious people, even by those who were beneficiaries of goodness. And my family members, in fact, risked their own lives for them. But maybe what was the worst was a betrayal by their own country. What you will see is a video of my colleague Millie Janatkova walking through Terezin. This is the old fortress and the surroundings of Terezin. And she was also the one who composed this next piece.
Chtěla jsem tě proklít, hořká zemi, protože jsi tak divně zacházela s mou vírou a nadějemi, protože jsi želhala si celá. Chtěla jsem tě proklít, známá stráň, již tráva květy vyrostly pro jinou. Zrada tvá zrada nesnese slitování, ať jak mé radosti tvé květy zahynou. Proklít všechna místa, kde jsem šťastná byla, náhle srdce změklo, jako když se zlomí. Místo toho jsem se tiše pomodlila, vždyť tam byly v květu všechny stromy. Da 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 dam 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 da 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 dam dam da 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 dam 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 da 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 dam da.
I wanted to curse you, bitter land, because you dealt so strangely with my faith, with my dreams. And because you lied, all of you was a lie. And I wanted to curse you because your betrayal must not be granted any mercy. Damn be all the places where I've been happy. May your blossoms perish together with my joys. But suddenly, I felt like my heart has softened. And instead of cursing you, I find myself praying. Because after all the trees around me are in bloom. Da 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 da. On December 23rd, 1942, after weeks of fear, Hannah, Richard, and Renee, my mom, boarded a train to Terezin, joining the hundreds of others on the transport. They arrived in Bohushovice, where they had to get off the train 7 kilometers before Terezin, and they had to walk the rest of the way carrying their 50 kilograms, their belongings, each one of them. Feet are marching 2 by 2, not sensing the proximity of the other. And our closeness now has widened by hundreds of miles. But perhaps our hearts still hope that one day they will reunite before all the longing expires, before their years run out.
eternally redeemed, eternally. In the darkest night, remember the sun, remember the sun. What is this place? Where have we come to? What happened to the way I used to look at me? Lost, eternally redeemed, eternally. In the darkest night, remember the sun, remember the sun. Love is the only spring through which life is born. Cherish your life and never have regrets. Never have regrets. Lost, eternally redeemed, eternally. In the darkest night, remember the sun. In the darkest night, remember the sun. Remember the sun. Remember the sun. $60,000 people were packed into Theresienstadt, an old military fortress once envisioned as a transition stop on the way to extermination camps such as Auschwitz. But even here, death was all around. In Theresienstadt, Hannah, Richard, and the daughter Renee were separated, and each had to find their own place to sleep. The family unit was broken, never to be rebuilt. Habit is a monster that devours all desire, or so says Shakespeare with reason. When love is a habit, habits without fire, should one contemplate this dual prison? When love is near the end and shadows turn to ghosts, frightened like those about to meet their death. When our love expires, that's the way it goes. That's why, my love, I tell you with my last breath, I had one life to live and I gave it all to you. Roots in the ground, blossom in the sky, with nothing else to give, the earth shares with heaven, and then everything wilts so dry. I see our clock is stopping coming soon, and lazy desire won't wind it up again. Who'd wanna live for the familiar, the banal chirping of the mundane? I'm writing in ink and I think in blood. Maybe my last chance before we fall. Who knows where the roads lead? Drought or flood? Yet I'm certain I have nothing left at all. Nothing at all. At all. Nothing at all. At all. I'm writing to you in ink what I feel in blood. I feel with blood. Through Hannah's connections, the family stayed in Theresienstadt for 2.5 years, which was highly unusual. She always managed to have the pink transport slip pulled out so they wouldn't have to go. But then, in the fall of 1944, Richard got the pink slip and went to Auschwitz, never to return, and nothing could be done. So much loss, so much grief. Studený soumrak byl můj milý, my dva jsme se loučili dojatou rukou, mrtvým slovem. The dead were asking through eternity, grief of their silence carried over fields, and cosmos cooled the heat of our misery. Pain is a moment, there's no pain beyond. With the last tear, the final darkness came, and God couldn't see our faces. The end fell into our eyes like a rock into a mirror, and only the wind cared to see what was happening. Dokud se koupe v horkých slzlázni, je srdce živo a dotud cítí. Možte si hoře, vy šťastní blázni. Bolest je život, bolest je žití. Reconciliation. The end is an eternal nothing. When nothing hurts, life is not lived. Now we just gaze from behind our blind pupils at the living pain of our
happy surroundings. When typhus broke out in Terezin, Hannah was very lucky because a friendly doctor agreed to keep her at the typhus ward at a hospital as a way of keeping her from the transport to Auschwitz. And there, at the hospital, she met a nurse musician. Her name was Ilse Weber. Some of you may know this name. She wrote lots of beautiful songs. And she wrote this following lullaby for the children there to give them some comfort and love.
Rock-a-bye, baby, keep dreaming. The nightingale sweetly singing. The wind so softly strums a tune. A silver lantern of the moon. Rock-a-bye, baby, keep dreaming. The nightingale sweetly Der Wind spielt auf der Weihe, spielt so süß im grünen Ried. Die Nachtigall, die singt ihr Lied. Vigala, vigala, Weihe, der Wind spielt auf der
In the following month, Terezin was nearly emptied of all the people that were there. And most of my mom's friends, her father, everyone was gone. And so she was actually hoping that she would also get the pink slip. But when it came, and they were supposed to leave, my grandmother, Hannah, did some unbelievable act of bravery right at the platform by pushing her daughter, my mom, out of the row of all the people standing there and getting the Nazi officer so confused. And she's telling him, you know, my daughter cannot go. She's got a sick arm, which was an absurd statement because they were going to Auschwitz. But somehow it worked. And so my grandma actually saved both of them through this very strange idea. Well, Terezin was liberated on May 8th, 1945. And my mom and grandma came back to Mnichovo Hradiště. Grandma got back the factory that belonged to Richard and successfully ran it without any business experience for 3 years straight. And then it was nationalized in 1948. While once considered a fragile child, my grandmother, in fact, was nothing of the sort. She did just fine under all the regimes, including the communists, always insisting on being treated like the lady that she was. While the beastly water came rushing down, just heavy boulders remained, swept away fields and harvest, putting out dreams and flames, dreams and flames.
Here someone hoped, here someone sowed, here they were building a family home. Everything washed away as currents flow, as satisfied are just the stones, just the stones. Bridges and dams ripped off the shores, and like the plants smothered the fire, the grief has died in euphoria. When the dead came alive, saved from the mire. The flood is past, just mud left behind, where new life may sprout again. Everything goes to ruin over time. At the dawn of the world, it was a saying. Oh, everything goes to ruin over time. At the dawn of the world, it was a saying.
The flood is now over in a white morning. With kindness God said you through. The end of the world is a new beginning, so your learning can start anew. Yeah, the end of the world is a new beginning, so your learning can start anew.
The end of the world is a new beginning, so you're learning and start anew. So you're learning and start anew.
My mother wrote a book about her family's years in Theresienstadt, but in the book she writes only 4 very short passages about my grandma. But that's all I have to imagine my grandmother in Theresienstadt. That and the poems, the 65 poems that she brought back with her. It's not a lot. After all these years, I've come to understand that I didn't know my grandmother at all.
Good evening. My head is in so many places, making the concert and trying to get harmonies with Lenka. So I'm Aviva Chernick. Welcome to Beth Tzedec for this beautiful evening, music of the Shoah. We now have an intermission. It's, let's say, 15 minutes long. Okay, people? 15 minutes. You're going to go outside. There's hot water and fresh mint to make a beautiful tea. There's white wine. There's a whole bunch of other yummy things. We're going to ring a bell. Tamara's going to ring a bell, like after about 10 minutes to say, hey, everybody, let's get ready and come back in. And we're going to have a bunch of people coming to urge you to come back so that we can let you go before dawn. Okay, thank you so much for being with us. Enjoy the intermission.
I know. I don't think she needs her laptop. I don't want to.
I don't really want to move it either.
Yeah, I know.
I assume they'll come back to reset. I hope.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Schachter, and I am the Programs and Curatorial Associate at the Toronto Holocaust Museum. I am delighted to be here this evening on behalf of the museum. We are grateful that Beth Tzedec congregation asked us to partner on this incredibly special evening, and a special thank you to Aviva Chernick for bringing this opportunity our way. It is great to be here together this evening. In November 2022, we had the pleasure of partnering with Ashkenaz Foundation during our annual Holocaust Education Week to present Thieves of Dreams by Lenka Lichtenberg. We're so grateful for artists and thought leaders who reflect, create, and share this difficult subject matter in new and engaging ways. This work often shares nuanced and sometimes lesser-known narratives that resonate deeply with audiences. Through our programming at the Toronto Holocaust Museum, we have found that holding space for community to come together and learn about our shared history is important now more than ever. Inspired by the legacy, dedication, and original vision of our Holocaust survivor speaker community, the museum offers 21st century visitors an entry point to learning about the Holocaust through the testimony and artifacts of those who survived and made new lives in Canada. Since we opened 11 months ago, we have welcomed thousands of visitors through our doors, including a wide range of students from school boards across the GTA through grades 6 to 12 to the museum. The museum highlights the remarkable work featured in some of the songs you are about to hear. Please allow me to share a bit more about one very special artifact on view in our Life in Canada gallery. This gallery focuses on the journeys of survivors immigrating to and settling in Canada post-war and their unique experiences and challenges making new lives here. This poetry book, published in 1995, features the collective poems of the Baycrest Terraced Holocaust Survivors Group. When social worker Dr. Paula David hosted a weekly therapy group with 15 women Holocaust survivors who came from diverse backgrounds, she ended up being struck by their syntax and how they spoke about their survival and their emotions. Spoken in English for her benefit, Paula ended up leading the participants in an exercise to compile their sentences on common themes like hunger, fear, or sexual violence. They called these creations collective poems, eventually publishing them into a volume of which the women were incredibly proud. On view, the poetry book now continues, sharing the legacy of these women's strength and capacity for healing with thousands of visitors in our museum. We invite you to visit the museum to engage with this story and countless others of survivors who made their lives in this unique community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Rosenberg, and I'm a journalist and music producer and co-creator of this project, Silent Tears, The Last Yiddish Tango, with Drew Jureka and Rebecca Wolkstein. Today's program is based on poetry and testimonies written by Canadian women who are Holocaust survivors about their personal experiences of violence during the war. And as Hannah mentioned, many of the songs are based on the research of Dr. Paula David, and sharing stories from these women who they'd kept them secret, even from their own families, for decades. And this group project helped alleviate so much of the suffering from bottling up these stories for decades. The first song that we're going to present addresses a common theme, a source of anxiety and fear among many women's stories who are Holocaust survivors, and that is losing their children or being separated from them. The song is called Silent Tears and is based on the poem What We Went Through from Paula David's Poetry Project. Please welcome the Payadora Tango Ensemble and Aviva Chernick.
gezeten in wat 40 alleen. 3 Kinder ausgehungert, nicht da wohin zu gehen. Gemusst sei dort verlassen und gehen noch Speis in Dorf, gegangen aus Koles, zurück und sei nicht da. Nicht da. Bitte doch nicht schreien, machen sie nicht rufen. Sein Stil ist mein Geneut, jeder Schaf ist heut. Sie werden zurück, wird man sie verhaben, wird man sie erschießen. Mich wird man erschießen. Es ist dann geschehen uns, gesucht sei noch und noch, die Tächte lach gefunden, in wat sie sitzen dort. Ich hab gekuscht die Pen im Lach, Satz, Satz auf Satz. Tränen fallen, Sturmen, Tränen fallen hart. Von die Liebe Egler.
This next suite of songs are based on Molly Applebaum's diary and memoir, Buried Words. Molly Applebaum is now 93 years old, and she's a Holocaust survivor who lives in North Toronto. During the war, she was buried underground in a box under a barn on a farm in Dąbrowa, Poland, with a small hole to breathe. She kept a diary of her ordeal, which was later published as the book Buried Words, describing the cold, hunger, filth, and being covered in insects. Molly Applebaum was born on October 27th, 1930 in Krakow, Poland. By 1941, as Jews were being rounded up and sent to killing centers, including Belzec, Molly's mother, Sarah Weissenberg, arranged for a place for Molly and her older cousin to hide with this local farmer named Victor in Dąbrowa, Poland, approximately 85 kilometers from Krakow. Molly was hoping that her best friend Sabina would join her in hiding, but Sabina refused to go as she did not want to leave her parents, who were in poor health. Still, Sabina urged Molly to go into hiding and to do everything possible to survive. Now, this next song is based on that letter that Sabina gave to Molly. Molly saved that letter the rest of her life, and Sabina was tragically murdered the next week. This song is Sabina's letter, and once again, Lenka Lichtenberg on vocals.
wie voll die Krumm gepackt mit Säure. Und du gehst in Schul mit mir. Wein je nicht und hab je nicht gegen Meure. Stell dir, als ich läufe weg mit dir. Sie gedenkst noch Lehrers und Examen. Sie gedenkst der Shirley-Temple-Film. Wenn je nicht, wir seien noch zusammen. Ich trinke mich fest wie Trick mit Jahren viel. Und kein Hoffnung. Ich steige die alte Leid. Kein Schum Hoffnung. Es ist vorbei schon die Zeit. Aber die Hoffnung bekommen Rot oder Deutsch. Das Leben gehört nicht uns mehr, nur dem Deutsch. Thomas überlebt Ayid. Kommen vom Krieg, wer und die Deutschen fallen für ihn, kuschen seine Tritt. Ich kann nicht locken, ob mein Tate Mama bloß ein Weg ist du von sie für mir. Aber du in unser Lebensname leb und nicht vergiss, ich bin mit dir. Und kein Hoffnung, ich steige die alte Leid, kein Schum Hoffnung, es ist vorbei schon die Zeit, wo die Hoffnung bekommen hat oder Teich, das Leben gehört nicht uns mehr, nur dem Deutsch. Dacht sich, als sie haben recht, die Deutschen. Thomas überlebt jeden Krieg. Kuschen seine Fies, wollen sie gewiss. Mit sagt, ich will so kommen Krieg. Kann nicht losen, ob mein Tate Mama Läusen weg ist, dann sie bei mir. Aber du, dumme Toi, dein Mispalel oi, bet euch wieder treffen sie. Amen. This following song is in Polish, and that is because, well, this diary was written in Polish, and she's arguing with God, as many people felt God is not listening, and all the prayers are just going straight down to the mud. Ciemne nad nami chmury, trudna i gwałt i mrok. Ty tylko patrzysz z góry, albo odwracasz wzrok. Ja się tak rzadko żalę, choć mam do ciebie żal. Czyżbyś nie słyszał wcale próśb, które szle mi w dół? Proszę ja z nadzieją kruchą, że boskie ucho mój trafi głos. Proszę ja z nadzieją manną, godzinie czarną, przeciwnej wprost. Modlitwy slanne w niebo wzajem się strącają w locie. Niejedna spadła już na ziemię i skończyła w błocie. A jednak proszę ja z nadzieją marną, w godzinie czarną, czekając dnia. Proszę cię więc ogromnie, niech nam dręczy kot. Nie zapominaj o mnie, daj jeszcze parę lat. Wybacz nam nasze grzechy, odmień ten dumny czat. Został słuchać pociechy, złącz nas i ocal nas. Proszę ja z nadzieją kruchą, że boskie ucho mój trafi głos. Proszę ja, że toż do ciebie wola w potrzebie, przeciwnej wprost. Modlitwy slanne w niebo wzajem się strącają w locie. Niejedna spadła już na ziemię i skończyła w błocie. A jednak proszę ja z nadzieją marną, w godzinie czarną, czekając dnia. Please God, give me some more time. I need to revenge for death, and then I will leave, knowing I've done what I was supposed to do.
Now, you may be wondering why this music is tango and not, let's say, klezmer music. Now, for the music to tell Molly Applebaum's survival story, we relied heavily on Polish tango. Tango swept the world in the 1920s and 30s, and Warsaw became the European capital of tango and the world capital of Yiddish tango. Thousands of old 78s were recorded, and most of the composers of this genre were Jewish. Now, the music from the last two songs you heard and the next one we're going to hear were written by Artur Gold, one of the leading Jewish tango composers, one of the leading tango composers in Eastern Europe just before the war. And as World War II broke out, he was first sent in the Warsaw Ghetto and then to Treblinka, where the SS forced him to create a concentration camp orchestra to perform for members of the SS. Tragically, Gold and all of his orchestra were murdered in Treblinka in 1943. This next piece is an instrumental song based on another melody by Artur Gold, and it's called the Romani Waltz, to honor the memory of Artur Gold and also the Roma victims of the Holocaust.
Is there a place for us anywhere? That was the sentiment of displaced Jews hiding, and it's the same for so many people around the world still. Woehin zal ik gaan? Where should I go?
wohin soll ich gehen? Wer kann entfernen mir? Mal ich schien zu czasnej, trzeba leżeć skurczony. Es ist die Welt groß genug, tylko deutsche Smata. Ciemno duszno ja w grobie, dla nam jest na zabractwo, wohin soll ich gehen? Świat jest tak strasznie wielki, duchowo nie obejmiesz. Prawie że cała ziemia zamieszkanie jest przez ludzi. Wszystkie mają swoje mieście, tylko dwa biednych isto. Dla nas miasto zabracło na powierzchni ziemi, ci nam dadzą na świat iść. Ciemno duszno jak w grobie, dla nas miejsca zabrakło. Wohin soll ich gehen?
Just one little note, that last song was based on a poem that Molly Applebaum wrote when she was just 11 or 12 years old, as is the next one, describing what it was like being buried underground.
Der Winter gehunem dickarum und böser Wind im Blotzen und Vehementum fachmunere Tag eiskalte Nacht der Sonne ist die Kälte wenn sie tern dich mein Ruf in a verfreuen Bedeck mi kopis wies, o wie sie seinen Chaläumes, wenn die Warmkeit es ist. Wenn zugedrückt die Grieber und fort es noch die Kälte, mir hungert noch a Koldre in a farfreiener Welt. Kein Pelz, kein Mantel helfen nicht, chust du sein Zehn mal Zehn. Denn Hälfte ist bloß a Koldre, dem Winter zu bestehen. Meine Holem ist a Koldre, Wo's bedeckt mi kopis wies, oh wie sie seinen Chaläumes, wenn die Warmkeit es ist. Und sie ist die Spekulatie, als sie ist mi klar mehr schwamm, sich wagen meine Pratze, was helft nicht min Hastam. Kein Pelz, kein Mantel helfen nicht, es hilft kein Streu, kein Hay. O Poilen deiner gute Menschen, so gut seien sie. Meine Cholem is a kodre, Wo's bedeckt mi kopis wies, o wie sie seinen Chaläumes, wenn die Warmkeit es ist.
This next piece, Numbers on My Arm, is another one of the pieces from Paula Davis's project. Was mir will ihm die sitzt, doch ich weiß. Und euch so mehr Zeit, wenn sie's heiß. Ich warte, mir darf nicht mein Kummer. Die verschiedenen gewordene Säune hat mein Bube gehabt euch Amor. Und die Augen wie Christoph von der Mama, die war euch die Bräune. Von dem Taten bekommen doch hab ich kurze Fies und a rundigen Gut. Und der mit es lebt in mir mit sein Damenbeker in heuch der Strich. Die Faschisten haben sie umgebracht. Bin ich ein Leben geblieben und verbleibe so Tag und Nacht mit dem Nummer und meine Sicherheit. Thank you so much. We want to thank you for being with us this evening, for your kind and generous attention. I want to just take a quick moment to say thank you. Thank you to you, to each of you. Thank you firstly to all our volunteers, each and every one of you, to Tamar for being our concert coordinator, Shira, Corinne, Eliana, Mo, and Terry for keeping it together there. Also to our teams at Beth Tzedec, to Terry and Michael in marketing, to Brian, Martin, Lily, and Miko, and the whole team who helped put this space together for us. To Jason Leprad, who always makes us sound so great. And to Yuri, I want to say mostly this huge job of figuring out where in the heck in this whole building we were going to put this, so it actually could do justice to the slides and visuals that these artists created. Beautiful. You see, Yuri had to like create a whole thingamaboobie. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I want to thank our partners at the Toronto Holocaust Museum. We look forward to working more with you in the future. I want to thank all of the leadership team and so for supporting the project. I want to thank my mom, Dr. Beth Chernick, for coming this evening, and for my nephew, Chai, for bringing her. It's the first time my mom has been in an audience since COVID and since my dad died, so it's really a huge honor to have you here. And before I turn to the musicians, I want to thank those who are here from the Singer family. Yeah, so we're so glad to have you here. And all the family, also Helen who's watching, and Sharon and Ivan and the whole family, we send condolences. And I really just want to thank you for your vision and how generous you've been with it. What an honor it has been for us to honor your parents. And lastly, and most beautifully, I want to introduce you again. This is Dan Rosenberg, sort of overall seer of, producer of Silent Tears, and the one who's held these beautiful words and stories. Drew Jureka on bandoneon and on violin. Also arranger and producer of the album, Rebecca Wokstein, band leader of Payadora Tango Ensemble, composer of many of these pieces, Lenka Lichtenberg, whose project is Thieves of Dreams, the secret poetess of Theresienstadt, Michael Herring, I just do a weird thing, Herring, I know Herring, Michael Herring on bass, and Jeremy Ledbetter on piano. I'm Aviva Chernick. Glad to be on the leadership team at Beth Tzedec. We'll take you into our final piece with a word from Dan.
Yeah, and a few quick other thank yous. I want to thank Canada Council for the Arts and the Ontario Arts Council for supporting both of these projects, and also the Toronto Arts Council. I want to give a special thanks to Paula David for her amazing work with the Poetry Project, and for Molly Applebaum. And her family for letting us share her incredible story with the world. And Molly's daughter and her husband are here tonight, Sharon Rock and her husband, Alvin. Now, you may be wondering what happened to Molly at the end of the war. As we left the story, she was buried underground under this barn. The farmer had to hide the girls there because the punishment for hiding Jews was death. So he was terrified of neighbors knowing that he was hiding Jews because he could have been turned in. But towards the end of the war, he got very tired of hiding them and stopped feeding them. And Molly was actually buried underground with her cousin, who was several years older than her, named Helen. And they were desperate at this point towards the end of the war. Helen had this idea of writing the farmer a letter, begging the farmer to keep feeding them for another season, hoping the war would end. Molly had the idea, and you have to keep in mind that this was 1944, Molly was about 14 years old at the time, of trying to generate some sympathy with the farmer by lying and saying that she was pregnant with his child. The farmer was also having sex with both of the girls. Molly never had to give Molly and Helen never had to give that letter to the farmer because Dombrova was liberated. So after the war, Helen moved to the United States. Molly came here to Canada, not knowing a single person in the entire country, not knowing a word of English. And she moved here and ended up settling in Toronto, starting a family. She's now 93 years old, has 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. And she published the book Buried Words in 2017. The first part of the book is her actual diary that she kept while buried underground when enough light came through that hole, so she was able to write. And some of the songs you heard, like Bitter Winter and Via Hin Sol Again, the lyrics about being buried underground, those are directly from her diary. The second part of the book is a memoir looking back at her experience. And the book won the Student Impact Prize at the University of Toronto and is taught in Holocaust education courses around the world. It's quite remarkable. She's now 93, but late 80s to publish a book that's now an important part of Holocaust education. So we're going to finish the program with that song, Don't Let Us Starve, based on the letter that Molly and Helen never had to give the farmer.
Du bist das Amenu nacham Hab Rachmon Ester Bam Schale wenn ich kein Bräut Nicht vergess uns in Neut Ich bitte dich noch auf Gott in Herzen doch Helfe uns ein bisschen noch, weil das Leben zieht und liegt bei dir in die Hand. Wir haben noch auf uns die Kleider, nimm sie zu uns das beide. Ich habe es uns jeder gehen mir von Hunger aus. Herzlich war schon als eine, denn sie ist uns unscheine. Jesus war Vinagroci, war dein guten Tag. Von mir will Herzes Schwachschein als eine, beten sie uns unscheinen. Herzes Schwach wie Nagroci, fahr dein guten Tag.
Sag ich dir, als ich Tag her, wirst du gut sein zu mir.
Thank you so much. Erev Tov, wishing you a beautiful evening. Thank you for being with us. Safe home. Say hello to somebody you didn't know before on your way out. And Tefillot services are at 7:30 tomorrow morning. Feel free to come back and join us or stay overnight. Also, I believe that Payadora Tango Ensemble is selling albums of Silent Tears outside. Oh, and Lenka's also selling Thieves of Dreams. So if you have a CD player and cash on you, you're good to go.